our guys played a good game. I'm sure Atlanta feels like they can play better, and we know they can play better. But one of the things that we said we got to do, we got to box out. And, we gave up 5 offensive rebounds, which to that team is huge because, they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. So, I said, excuse me. I a little bit, but it's okay though. We all judge. But excuse me again for the burp, for the 2 burps. But, we talked about boxing out. Our guys did an unbelievable job on the glass. I tell you, OG and Cat were monsters. Between the 2 of them, it's what was that 722 defensive rebounds. They both had a double-double. They were phenomenal. It's huge for us to keep these guys off the glass. It's huge for us to keep them out of transition. They had 4 fast break points. They're going to come even faster, harder in Game 6. Our guys did a good job of taking care of the basketball. That's another thing that Atlanta does. They turn you over, and our guys did a nice job of taking care of the basketball. But more importantly, when we did turn over, they weren't really live ball turnovers that can hurt you in transition. So just phenomenal. Atlanta's doing a nice job of taking away our sprays. And so what does that mean? That means there's more room to drive and finish, and that's what we have to do. If the spray is not available, we got to finish. And we had 60 points in the paint, and we probably posted Cat a couple of times. So a lot of those points in the paint came off of drives because they're staying home on our shooters, and we're not able to get up, the 43s that we want to get up. So we have to take what the defense gives us. So great job finishing at the rim. Great job of taking care of the ball when we're hitting the paint. And great job of spacing the floor so we're able to finish at the rim. But good win. Jalen, phenomenal, especially in that 4th quarter. 39 points on 15 of 23. But just as importantly, 8 assists and 1 turnover. It's a big game from a big-time player.
Mike, to go from the 2 one-point losses to these 2 pretty decisive victories, just what does it tell you about your team's response to adversity? They're resilient, and we talked about it throughout the course of the year. You got to go through some adversity throughout the course of the year to see what you're made of as a group, see how you're going to respond, and you just got to keep fighting. And our guys have been through a lot so far this year, and they continue to go through it, but they've been through it as a group, and there's nothing that will deter the group. They're a veteran group that knows what they want and how to go get it, no matter what's in front of them.
Like Jalen looked like he was getting comfortable with a lot more off-ball stuff earlier in the game, and that was just like typical Jalen slicing through the pick and roll at the end. What did you think of the way that he was kind of reading how to manipulate their defense depending on what they were given?
Jalen was great, and his screening is great, his pace is great. We're just trying to move him around as much as we can so that they can't catch a rhythm with him.
Mike, speaking about Jalen, he had talked yesterday about making the right decision. They sent 2 at him, getting off the ball. It looked like today when they started Daniels on Cat, he looked like he was just going to be aggressive tonight. Did you see that right from the start with him?
Yeah, we want him to be aggressive, and like I said, the biggest thing for us is to keep trying to find ways to move him around because he's impactful whenever he's in action. They want to send 2 guys at him, and when they do, other guys have to step up.
Mike, just in a playoff series, obviously with highs and lows, just what is the value of the consistency that OG provides and like his willingness to do so many different things?
I mean, it's huge. Again, he had a double-double, but he impacted the game at such a high level, and he impacted it in ways that he can't even really tell because it doesn't show up in the stat sheet. So we need him, and he's definitely been about as consistent as you'd hope and expect, and we need every ounce of his consistency at the highest level.
Mike, you mentioned the taking away some of the three-pointers. You had, I think, an 18-point advantage in points in the paint. You're someone who's often, emphasized sprays and as many sprays as you can. But when they're taking that away, how much do you like that you guys can almost change your identity a little bit and play to how they're playing you?
No, I love it. We have to attack the finish like McHale's drive and dunk. Again, that's available because they're taking the spray game away, and so our guys have to continue trying to take what's available. And right now for us, it's finishing in the paint.
Mike, you saw some of the Mitchell Robinson, Karl Towns lineup, especially first half. I just want to know what were your thoughts when those two guys were out there together?
They were good. I thought they were good together. It gives us a different look. And when you play a 7-game series, a lot of times it's about trying to keep your opponent off balance, and throwing both bigs out there gives us a different look, makes them think differently on both ends of the floor, and we'll keep mixing it up.
Coach, I imagine you would prefer not to be playing late in the shot clock as often maybe as you are, but how valuable is a player like Brunson, who doesn't matter like when you're late in the clock, he's just super comfortable in those situations, and like where does that come from, do you think?
Comes from his mom. His mom, she's got a lot of patience and real sharp lady. Hear that, Rick? No, Jalen's just, he does it all for us. Come playoff time, you have to be able to execute at different levels of the clock. Obviously, you want to play fast, so you're not going against a set defense all the time. But that's not going to always work in the playoffs because the defenses are probably pretty good with the teams that are there. So that means you got to be able to score on this second level, and if you can't, because defenses are that good, you can't panic. And our guys seem to not panic when it comes to 8, 7, 6 seconds on the shot clock, and I've always felt the better teams are able to do that. I remember when I'm going way back, but when I was in San Antonio, it seemed like our groups never panic. Even if there's 3 seconds, they seem to make one more pass or one more drive and then pass. And to me, that's a sign of a mature team, and that's a sign of a good team. It's just like a good player. Being able to score on all 3 levels, it's almost identical to the shot clock, early, middle, and late, without panicking. And our group has done a really good job of it, especially when you have a guy like Jalen that can go get it for you.
A couple more.
Coach, your core has kind of been together in recent years. They've been down before in series. They've closed series out. You've had success in the playoffs as well. So how much of it is you kind of leaving it up to them to kind of police themselves and get themselves ready for another game, or versus you kind of like talking to the team and motivating these guys?
Well, like you said, it's a veteran group. They've been through some things together, and I for sure haven't dictated what we're going to do all year. It's been by committee. At the end of the day, I have to say yes or no on all the decisions because there's a lot of people involved, but I'm a firm believer in giving people ownership, and I give our group, our players, and our coaches. Shoot, you see it. BOC's up, Gent's up, Gent's in the huddle, BOC's in the huddle. So I give everybody ownership because what I've experienced is when that happens, it takes the buy-in to a different level because everybody all has an idea. So if they say, hey, let's have shoot around at this time, or let's have practice at this time, or let's watch film here, I'm going to listen. And, most times I'm going to go with what the whole group suggests. But like I said, it comes from what they've earned. They've earned the right to be able to do that because they've been together for a while and they've responded whenever they've made suggestions.
All right, last one. Mike, how much do you value rest at this stage when you're going every other day, the urgency, and you got to team up 3-2, you can put them away in 2 days, get yourself a couple extra days of rest. How much do you put in the urgency of closeout games?
And not just closeout games, but throughout the course of the playoff run, you have to be smart because rest is a big deal, and you're playing against really good teams. But on top of that, the physicality of the game is at another level, and so trying to give your guys the ability to recoup, not just their minds but their bodies as well, is something that we really lean on and take a look at after every game.
Thanks, Coach.